Welcome to episode 40, season 2 of the Service Course Report podcast. It's July 17th, 2026. We are recording on a Friday afternoon, stage 13 of the Tour de France. It's a warm July. We're on Spotify, where you can watch us video and audio, YouTube, Apple, Amazon. We're on Substack. Please like, share, subscribe, send us to your friends, send us your questions. We've had some good comments and questions, and we had some readers submit some photos. So send us your old photos that maybe miraculously might have pictures of some of us in them. And we want to thank our sponsor, Laser Helmets. Chris Smith is our first official sponsor, and the Ventu Kinetic Core helmet. We've all been wearing that. It's 5 stars on Virginia Tech, which I really recommend you look at Virginia Tech's rating. I wouldn't wear anything that isn't 5 stars.
Yeah, there it is in
My
action.
surfing friends used to call me 5-star, so that was...
Learn something new every day.
5-star, I like it.
5-star. Yeah. Well, and the great graphics that they put on there. So
yeah, there it is
for us to have something like that.
Sweet,
yeah,
thank you, Laser.
Seconds after I took this selfie, I slid out and didn't hit my head, but I hit my hip, and it's getting better. But anyway, we talked about that last week. Question of the week. We're going to move at rapid pace this week. Did the internet trolls hate on Tadej or Todd worse than Nino, the mountain bike superstar who just recently retired? What do you guys think? Good question.
Yeah, I started thinking about this as there's like people are booing this guy who's doing his job, and he's the best that there ever was, and like we didn't get to witness Eddie Merckx in his prime just because of our age, right? We weren't into cycling then, but like we saw Jordan, we saw Kobe, right? People, I don't remember people hating on them, maybe fans of different teams, but I started thinking about this. I'm like, Nino Schurter, and I pulled some of his stuff. 10 times.
Paul Mars are amazing.
10 times he was elite world champion. 10 times, right? And he won the overall World Cup 9 times, right? So 10 times world champion, 9 times overall World Cup. And he was he also won an Olympic gold medal in 2016. He won a silver medal in 2012, and he won a bronze medal in 2008.
Yeah.
And then the most miraculous thing was in 2017, he won every round of the World Cup.
I didn't realize that.
Of the World Cup. So, I mean, yes, Tadej is quite dominant, but I mean, I think in our lifetime, there has been no other bike racer, male or female, probably as dominant as Nino Schurter was. I mean, granted, right, we don't have big stage races and this and that, but I guess
that's pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like Ricky Carmichael winning 10 outdoor championships in a row, 3 on small bikes and 7 on big bikes, 10 in a row.
Yeah.
It's remarkable when you think about how much can go wrong. I mean, think about his perfect season to win every race, one flat tire, a mechanical, all the factors that go into the whole system, and to show up and do that much is just truly remarkable. And just the mental resilience to also win that much and then show up and still want to work hard and win more.
Still be hungry like that. Yeah, so it's like, why do they hate on why do the trolls hate on the troll? I mean, they are people on the internet who are pretty much anonymous. They're trolls. They're just looking to start controversy. But it's like, why do people hating on Pogačar so much? I mean, he has this natural gift. He's trained himself, and he's paid to win.
I think the internet goes easier on mountain biking in general. I think road cycling has doping following it around.
So anytime somebody, now granted, if somebody's this dominant, you could see why people who don't know as much about the sport, or even maybe some that do, can obviously, question things. But it's a different era and a different time. And if you look at the thing that I noticed, with UAE is if you look at what they are leading the way on. And if you think of just the two things, the short cranks and the aero, and I can't remember if we were just talking about this or we actually talked about it at the pod. So sorry if I'm the last pod, sorry if I'm repeating myself, but those two things, the short cranks and that, hey, aerodynamics is more important than weight, right? You remember in like the previous eras in the Lance era, they were like the quarter kilogram and they had all of this down and timing their weight perfectly into the Tour. And UAE figured out, actually, you know what, aerodynamics matter more. You did that last pound or two may not matter as much as all the time savings you save in the whole stage. And then also the short cranks, and other people are following it and doing it. So they're leading the way. And if you're leading the way, you probably have a year in on them. And so I just think people need to look at that and see how remarkable it is that they are in a sport of tradition, that who would have thought that you would, the two best guys in the Grand Tours would be on 165 and 160 crank arms. I mean, think of that even 4 years ago. We would have been like, dude, no way. You can't win a Grand Tour without, and they're doing that. So I just think that you got to look at them and say that's why they're so good. They're leaving no stone unturned. They're using new metrics. They're not afraid to look at new information and come up with a new plan. So that's, people who boo like that just either have not enough going on in their own lives, or they just are so clueless, about what it actually takes to be that good that they don't have enough respect for it, That's the way I look at it. Yeah, I'm not, even if you dislike somebody as a racer, booing an athlete who's out there like that, that's just, I'm never on board with that.
And I think it does help too that they have a pretty deep checkbook too, to work on some of this stuff. Like if they want to try some things out, they don't have to find a sponsor that's willing to go along. It's like, oh, this we've done our research. Let's put some resources into this,
right,
as a team, just to see,
Yeah, but you can't tell me
better.
Ineos hasn't had the money. Because basically all,
True.
It was, right? Ineos had the money. Ineos could have gone and done exactly what they did. They could have tried short crank, but that's what I mean. They're not even thinking that. So whatever is the combination behind Tadej's coaching staff, the new coach that when he lost the Tour Tours, the 22 and 23, he got beat, switched coaches, and whatever, not only the training they've done, but just the mindset that they have, I think is, look at the aero bars, look at the position, look at the forward, not worrying about the tilt of your hips. We used to think, oh, you got to, pull your hips way back and be bent over in that. And they're slid forward and kind of rounded. I mean, it's like I said one time before, we used to laugh at Sean Kelly's position. Tadej looks closer to that, than Lamond or, of the era. So I just think that they are thinking, they are whatever the package of people that they have in there, that is the key. They're willing to look at stuff. And of course, it helps when you got the best rider in the world as well.
To your point there too, it's like they're not concerning themselves with tradition and what has worked, right? It's like, okay, everyone's done what has worked. Everyone got to a certain level.
Mm-hmm.
And that willingness to kind of throw old conventions out the window and try something new has worked well for them.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's also helpful with a crop of riders, younger riders that haven't been so steeped in that tradition as well. I mean, same with you've talked about the training and the lead up training and how many races you have to do.
Right.
I mean, it's funny, we were thinking about that. Before we went on camera, I pulled out my training diary from 1990, and I saw at the end of June, I had written this down. I had competed in 47 races by June 30th of 1990, which was traditionally kind of halfway through the season, right?
Right.
So
that's pretty good. You got in some. Didn't you do Tour of Americas at the start of that year? Right. I think down there, so you probably got in a little bit of stage racing and
that
filled them in, but even still, that's pretty, good in the U.S. for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, but the conventional wisdom used to be,
right,
pull one little thing out. The more you race, the better you're going to be, right? You need to race more. You got to race more.
Right.
You got to race more. That's the only way you're going to get fit. Race more and do big miles and a lot of hours. And it worked for a while. It gets you to a certain point, but for stuff to evolve, the whole marginal gains thing. Well, every one of these things, maybe is, but you combine them all together and you have people that are forward thinking, and then you have athletes that can actually execute on it. It makes it pretty interesting.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I hope in 10 years we look back and there's not any smoke. Right now, there's very little smoke or hint of doping allegations with Tadej. The only thing is last summer's Escape Collective breaking story on CO2 rebreathing. But other than that, and you can also throw his team manager, it was a big-time doper and was involved with Sonia Devall. So there's been a little smoke in his history, but in general, he's pretty clean, and I hope that holds up over time. Walsh, the journalist from the London Times who chased after Armstrong and got so beat up and even maybe got sued by Armstrong, he was on a podcast recently defending Tadej in a big way, saying, look, there's no documented journalism or breaking news or hints or smoke or anything about Tadej, so you need to all be quiet.
Yeah.
I hope that holds up over time.
Yeah.
And I really respected him for saying that. I mean, this is a guy who made his career chasing after Armstrong. I respected his perspective, and I hope it holds up.
Yeah. Yeah, good.
I also think that maybe Tadej is doing heat acclimation in the sauna that he has. He's doing things that we're not all completely aware of, and someday those are all maybe legal methods. Someday
totally
we'll
legal.
know a little bit more. And I also, like he was motor pacing on the Poggio to get ready for Milan-San Remo. I mean, like he's using some old school technique and doing it right. And, so he's doing some stuff. He does the work.
Yeah, definitely. He's not afraid to look for the edge, to go out there and try something a little bit different. I mean, they essentially said that it's really power meters that has allowed all of this, because it's just such a for sure metric, that you can go out and run your analytics, and obviously the technology, to be able to run all the analytics and see your patterns and see what works out. I mean, how else could you figure out that aerodynamics are more important than weight unless you went out and did, a similar distance at a similar workload and then climbed a hill, right? Something like that. I'm sure that's my rudimentary mind thinking about it, all the different ways that they measure the metrics. But again, you have to want to do it.
Yeah. He's wearing all the sensors. You can knock and you can say it's corporate endorsement. He's wearing a Whoop. He's wearing a heat sensor. He may be wearing a hydration monitor. We don't know. He may be wearing the new breathing sensor that's, that Ineos uses.
Right.
He's got, you'll look when he raises his arms, he's got all the technology around his and so
like
there's
Steve
a lot
Austin, $6 million man.
And I love my Whoop. I think that thing is amazing, and I've been wearing it for 5 years. I think it's just an amazing product.
Whoop,
I had the privilege.
Whoop, there it is.
I was sitting at a graduation dinner with obviously an investment banker. He didn't tell me what he was doing, but he was an investment banker for Oura Ring.
Mm-hmm.
And so he'd invested heavily in them. And so we had a chat about Oura Ring, Garmin, Apple, Whoop. It was great. Right. And he was really listening to what I was saying. And I kept saying, well, let's merge all these together. And then I was talking about my hydration sensor and all that. And he's like, oh, wow. And he was really focused on the medical side. He wants to know that Oura Ring is going to be working with your doctor.
Well, because then you get it covered by insurance.
Yep.
Which, speaking of that, maybe it was because I was poking around and I was looking up, I was looking at Whoop and looking at Oura Ring, and one of them, I don't remember which one, maybe it was Whoop, already has doctor like clearance, like you can get it. It said, make sure to ask your insurance about getting this. I don't remember if it was Whoop or Oura, but I thought to myself, there we go. That's the moneymaker for those companies is once insurance can get it involved, and also it just gives it to a lot more people, which really it should. When you think about all the other stuff that insurance might pay for preventative health or physical therapy or something like that, what better than something that can give you actual health metrics to change your life?
Well, I think Garmin, Whoop, Apple, all of them are available for your health savings account. So if you have an employer that has a health savings account, you can get the tax benefits from all these products. I think that is the case. Whoop will do, different, you can pay for different more advanced lab tests. I'm not a fan of going to the lab, so I'm not really interested in going and sitting there and having my blood drawn more than I have to. I don't want to do that more than my doctor already has me doing. So,
right.
But Whoop is already offering additional blood testing markers and data.
Yeah. So a big thing with Apple that they've been working on with the Apple Watch for a while is blood glucose monitoring with the Apple Watch, which I have down the other wrist. And if they can get that FDA approval, right, that goes huge because with people that have diabetes, they're constantly having to do a skin prick. So when it gets to the mainstream, right, we think about it, sports related, but where these companies are going to really break through. Apple kind of being an exception because it's not just a sports related wearable company. It's just that's a division of it. But as soon as these companies get in there with the mainstream, and then to your point, insurance pays for it, it'll be a total game changer.
Well, I actually read an article about just that, and again, I was reading so many about all these the different companies because it's something I have a lot of interest in. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. What I was going to say on that subject, but what I will say, why I was looking it up is, and the reason why I got my Fenix 7 is, you guys know, like all my devices is broken and I had like no computers or anything, but from training people and being more involved in health coaching, I feel like, and I still believe this, and why I was looking at Whoop and Oura is, I think that for the average person, these devices and what they give you still have too much detail. And, and it's funny, I was talking with Greg McNeil the other day on the phone, and he was using an app called Morpheus. And he was saying the same thing. And I got this Fenix 7, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to do basically anything to it other than I turned off all the notifications because that drives me crazy, all the buzzing and everything like that. And I just was like, I'm just going to use this for a while, let it gather my data. But I was really more interested in is the interface between the human and the watch and the type of information it gives you. Because, as I've told you guys many times, like for average health coaching, if you're not an Olympic level athlete, whatever, world-class athlete, the reason your plan doesn't work isn't because of the details of the plan. It's just that people can't organize their lives to stay to a plan. Yes, if you're an elite level athlete, what you do on each day matters, but you're talking about people who you want them to get out the door and exercise regularly, or just get in a quick snapshot. Did I drink enough water today or not? Like I have it, and it'll, at the end of the day, the Garmin pulls up and gives me like a rundown of the day. And it's, first of all, the text is small enough that I got to get my readers to put it on. So that's the first one. If I'm like, oh, nice, watch is on here, but I'm like, wait, what does that say? And also, I don't need a page of text. Maybe I can fish my way through that, but I don't even want that. I would just like it to have like 3 bars, green, orange, red, or something like that. Some easy way of telling you where you are. Did you hydrate? How is your sleep? Not like having to scroll it through. And so I think so I read this article and it was talking about, and I think it was actually Whoop, and they were saying that is the next area that the tracker companies are moving into, is the average person's health. That they've kind of been tapping out the elite, right? I'm training for an Ironman, or I'm a whatever Cat 1 racer or beyond that. Those people are all tapped out, but they're really figuring out a way to just bring it to everybody. And that's where I see the gap, is that the information that they're trying to impart on these people, they don't care about intervals. They just tell them to go for a hike in the hills or not, like make it be very simple. And so that's what I'm really interested to see, if they can actually take all this information and actually make it so that somebody can use it to help their health, not just give them the information that they think.
I think you would find that Oura Ring is the most simplified graphical pictures of the sun and the moon, and
I'll have to go check out there. Yeah, look at it a little deeper.
A little more simplified. I want all the details.
Yeah, you want all the details. Well, I don't mind. I don't mind going in and looking at the details, but in terms of the watch, for what I wanted for this, and for thinking of like clients who aren't, like as into the metrics as we might be, something simple like, hey, if you're going to strap this thing to your wrist, it can measure your sleep. It can give you your blood oxygenation. It can give you can do a HRV on it. If you put a heart rate strap, you can literally do anything. But how do you actually get people to do that? that's the hardest part, So yeah. Well,
my other feedback for the venture capitalist was I told him that my whoop hits bushes and gets snagged. An Oura ring doesn't get snagged on bushes. And then the gentleman next to me says, no one likes to play basketball against people wearing whoops. So, I don't know. Just some things to think about.
Yeah. Now, does the Oura ring, do you wear the Oura ring when you ride, or do you take it off when you ride and then just put it back on?
Oura ring you would wear all the time, including when you're sleeping.
So it doesn't bother you like holding on to the grips?
Well, they've gotten it pretty small. I don't personally own one.
I thought you were talking about it because I got
family members who own them.
Right.
They've gotten more and more low profile. They just released another one that's even more low profile, and they have a rubberized version. They've got a gold version.
Right.
They got a lot of them.
Yeah, nice. All right.
No worries.
Yeah. Well, I know. I went for the watch that had the blood ox and everything in it, this Phoenix 7, the top of the line one. It does sometimes feel a little big, like reaching my arm in and stuff. And one day I took it off in the shower or something to charge it up, and I just forgot about it. And I went out and I was doing stuff, and I'm like, wow, what feels weird? And I'm like, oh, wow, I don't have the watch on anymore, because I got so used to not wearing anything. You know me, I was like, watch where if I wore anything, I always wore a watch. And then I lost my G-Shock watch during little slang days. My G-Shock watch, the one that I had, I lost it. And then I was like, do I really need a watch? And I know I was just had been rolling it, the tech-free zone instead of a tech zone, tech-free zone. So anyhow.
Well, all right,
we're poo-pooing on the internet trolls that are hating on Tadej.
I would have to think that no one probably plays basketball wearing rings either. I mean, would you do that? I don't play basketball, so I don't know. But you're saying the guy said no one likes to play basketball against anyone wearing a bracelet. I would think just kind of no jewelry, no wearables at all. You were asking that, DS, about a ring like riding a bike. I think about that like if you fell or something, right? You hear every once in a while someone jams
tweak
their
a
hand
finger,
and starts swelling up, and then you can't get the thing off.
Yeah.
I guess there's trade-offs.
Yeah. All right.
When I crashed the other day, my Garmin activated, and it took me a little while to turn it off. Got to let everyone know that I'm okay.
Right.
So the sensor went off, and instantly it texts my list of people to let them know that I've fallen. That's always an interesting moment when the thing is dirty and you're trying to clean it off and turn it off, and I'm sure that I know that your Apple Watch will do the same thing, but I've noticed mine, when I've crashed, it's never notified anybody. So interesting that my Apple Watch has never played that role.
Yeah.
I sometimes I'll get my Apple Watch, that fall detection will go off like if I clap really loud or I do something abruptly just with my hand. I mean, I feel like if I've had 100 Apple Watch notifications, 99 have been false positives. I think once did I actually fall or something happened, but I was still okay. But it seems super sensitive. But I remember the first time that Garmin thing happened, I was like, and there's like a little timeline that goes across the bottom of the head unit. It's like you have so many seconds to stop this thing. We were talking about wearing readers. The first time that happened to me, I'm like, I can't read what this says. I didn't know what was going on, and I think a bunch of people got notified. And then I was like, then you're somewhere and you got to text them. Yeah. Although it's better to have it than and if you end up in a ditch somewhere and they can at least come find you than not. So
yeah.
So anybody do any interesting rides recently?
I mean, I got a hot one in last. We were getting up into the high 90s, into the hundreds here, and my buddy Chris went out early last Saturday, and we hadn't coordinated the day before. And by the time I sent him a message, he's like, "I've been out for an hour already." He went out at 7:30. Chris melts in the heat. I went out like probably at about the worst possible time. I said my four and a half hour ride, the average temp was above 100 degrees.
Damn.
And I actually rerouted based on where I knew there were water stops, so I could get through. But I I don't know, man. I'm okay in the heat for whatever reason. I used to die in the heat. But I had one point. I'm coming out of this last climb out of the South Fork of the Yuba, out of the Purdon Crossing, and I looked down at the head unit. and said my RPM was 46. I was going 3.5, and then it dropped down to 3.4 miles per hour, and the temp was over 100 degrees, and somehow I didn't fall over. And I was in the saddle doing that, and I was just like, man.
Were there flies? Or not?
No
Are
face
out
flies.
Of flies?
And there were no face flies. I couldn't believe it because I normally I bring during the summer I ride with a net. You can put it over your helmet on the climbs because we found above 5.5, 5.6 miles per hour on the super steep climbs. Like you're going fast enough that they can't keep with you. But if you're at 5.5 or below, you get those. And the worst is you suck one up your nose or something when you're breathing hard and it goes into your sinus or whatever. But no face flies. Heat, and it was good, and I somewhat recovered, so I'll take it.
The last time I rode up at your place, whenever it was the last time we came up and visited, and when I remember we started going up a climb, and you and Foyt whip out your head nuts and put them on. I'm like, I'm like, I had one right in the map drawer of my van, but didn't think to put it in. Didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, he actually got those as gifts. I think he bought a 3-pack years ago and gave one to Rob and one to myself, and he had one little stuffed sack, and you just keep it there with your quick inflator, the extra chain lube you bring, whatever you take with you when you ride, and dependent on the day. So
remember that was like Mount Snow, Vermont, and I don't know which other ones, but whatever we went to, Mount St. Anne. If they were in pretty much any time, but like in June and July, the black flies were brutal.
Yeah.
And walking the downhill course, remember how bad it was? We had that the very first year I went to Vermont. I remember the flies were so bad. We were long arm and leg, but my tights, we wore Lycra back then. There was a gap between where my tights came down and the top of my socks. And I remember I was sitting there getting ready, go and start. Can't remember if it was semifinal or whatever, and I just looked down and there was just like a row of black flies just like on that spot, that little bit of skin. I was like, and knocked them all off of there. And later that night, my lower leg swelled up, I swear, from my knee, like the calf went, and then it was just like straight to my ankle. It was so swollen. And that was when we started wearing like bug nets on top, and you'd have to go out and walk the downhill course with like the hoodie with the bug net on it and long pants and everything, because the black flies, you couldn't just walk. You would get annihilated. They were terrible.
And it was always in the 90s with the humidity in the high 90s too. So wearing all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Was this constant. You get that and like everything you had was drenched.
Yeah, fully sweating it out.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was
How about you, DS?
My rides. Well, I have not great news to report to the pod listeners, but you guys know in an innocuous fall on my mountain bike on July the 5th, I just had seemingly just went to go to take off and spun my rear wheel on a rock and tipped over to the side, but with the seat all the way up, couldn't get the edge of the trail, and it turned out there was a seasonal creek bed, and I fell like 6 feet down into big square rocks and about 4-inch diameter sticks and wrenched my knee and tore a ligament. So got to go in and get surgery. So I go into the orthopedic surgeon Monday morning, Dr. Ryu, who actually did my left shoulder in 03 and my left ACL in 06. So I was on a 20-year hot streak of no torn ligaments or needing anything repaired. But yeah, so a total bummer. So the last, other than getting out to the doctor and getting x-rays and stuff to get it all checked out, this week I admit I was just like having to wrap my mind around it all, that the whole like next 7 months of my life is going to be different because I've been through repair before, so I know what it takes. And I just kind of vegged out, watched a lot of racing, watched a lot of Netflix, and was just kind of like not totally dejected, but I just had to just like take the time to just like go, okay, I just have to like reset my mind. Had to cancel our trip up to the Pacific Northwest, which was a real bummer. Had that all lined up, all days of mountain biking with friends and up to Canada and everything. But So I'm kind of over it. This is my first day back down in the studio. And so I just kind of got over all that. I've been working my clients from the video screen, and I'm just like, all right, this is what it is. I'll go in Monday. I'll get the exact timeline of all the specifications and get a surgery date scheduled, and then go in and get it done. So unfortunately, no bike riding for me for probably 6 months. It'll take for everything to heal to the point where I can get out and pedal. So, yep.
Do you have any Netflix recommendations based on your past week or so?
If you watch this old series called Money Heist, don't watch past the first heist.
Yeah.
The first heist, I think it was 2 seasons, was pretty good, and the way they did it and all that. And then, I don't know, you know how a show goes on too long? And then, of course, because you're just like sitting there like, so my program is I'll be doing computer work, and then on the iPad on the side, I put the tour or whatever, And so
eventually everyone jumps the shark, right?
Yeah.
As long as he gets out the motorcycle and goes over the shark.
Yes, exactly. They just kept trying to do too much. So only watch the first heist, which is at the Mint. Don't watch the Bank of Spain heist. That's yeah. So that's probably my best one right there.
Dr. Ryu did my shoulder, and his predecessor was Leonard Burgess. He took great care of your mom.
Did her
so
knees,
that office knows the Stockton family and will take good care of you, I hope.
Yeah. Well, hopefully. I mean, I fortunately haven't seen him for a little under 20 years, but I'm sure he'll remember me and everything. And like I said, he's great. I mean, I could remember, when I dislocated my left shoulder. Ironically, everything happened after I was done racing, but dislocated my left shoulder riding out at one of the nationals. And I remember he fixed it, and he talked to me afterwards, and he goes, as I went in there, he goes, it was actually worse than I thought. He's all, not only was it torn off the bone, but the actual ligament had a tear in it itself. And I was like, well, so what'd you do? And he goes, well, he's all, they explained how it's pretty trick. They have these anchors. So they drill a hole in your bone and screw this anchor, and it's like a screw that has thread attached to it coming out. And so then that's stuck into the bone, and then they take that thread and weave it through and attach the ligament like back down to the bone, so it holds it on so it can grow. He goes, but then because the ligament itself is a little stretched out, he goes, I had to take the thread and basically weave it through the length of the ligament, up and down, and then you can pull it tight and it shortens up the ligament. And he goes, and that's, and he goes, and that's the tricky part. He's all, because if it's too loose, you're going to have a loose shoulder. He's all, but if it's too tight, you're going to have frozen shoulder. He's also really, and he's explained it to me. And this is the reason why I got my knee done by him and why I'm going back again, is because I realized that right there, that is like the mastery that sets somebody just that little bit above. For whatever reason, they've done enough, or they see it enough, or they just got the gift enough that they can tell by everything they've done, nope, I just got to pull this a little bit tighter and tie it off all right there. And I guess like a fine cabinet maker or, whatever it else might be, that those last few percentages is what makes somebody a master. So that always stuck in my mind. And, so that's why I'm going back in to see him on Monday. Yeah.
So we'll get more reports in another week.
Yeah, we'll get the report in another. Yeah, exactly. Find out more next week. Yeah.
You remember when ACL recovery PT was progressing, and there was the one guy that was recovering way faster than anybody else, and so they went to study that guy, and he turned out he lived on a boat. So maybe you should move down to the harbor and start balancing all the time.
That's yeah, I probably still, I got to go look at my files, which are at home. I bet you I still have my original knee protocol from Dr. Ryu from 2006. And I remember because I was living down in Temecula, but I'd come up here to get my surgery done. And so I was down there doing physical therapy, this place, Rancho Physical Therapy. And I remember that when I said, here's the notes from my doctor. He's very specific, this is what you need to run me through. And he would have, by this week, you need to have, 100 degrees. By this week, 105. By this week, 110, everything laid out. And the physical therapist, she goes, I have a question. I go, what? She goes, do you mind if I copy this and keep a copy for us? She goes, I've never seen an ACL procedure this detailed. like for PT, I was like, yeah, have at it, So Dr. Ryu's, good protocols, I guess, are, spread around a bit. So, yeah.
Well, it's about the surgeon, but it's also about the rehab. So we look forward to hearing about your journey.
Yeah. So we'll keep it up to date.
You got me looking for my balance board now. I need to start standing on it. I'm standing on the front of the desk now. I don't have one of those long ones like that. I've got the round one that the ball goes in the center of it, and the swivel hips one.
Do you use the Indo board, Ed? Do you have one of those?
No, I had in the past, but not in a long time.
That's a prime mountain biking one there.
Yeah, it was funny. I was, watching the one wheelers. They come through my neighborhood sometimes, and they're working on their proprioception.
Yeah.
4th of July, I saw one wheelers that were beach chairs. They'd mounted their beach chairs on their one wheels, and they were just riding along.
I love that. So, that's innovation right there. Yeah.
That's
Stay balancing. Stay balancing.
If UAE were riding on one wheels, they probably would have come up with that, right? Because they're forward thinking.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, all right.
So let's move to the racing. My riding has just been getting in more hours, spending time with my friends, listening to them complain about how much they had to rehab their bikes after Unbound, and every last bearing surface needed to be replaced, and thousands of dollars later that Unbound is not such a good thing when it's muddy.
That's why they need those XD15s.
If you don't have the right equipment. I know a guy, Benke, Kevin Benkenstein from South Africa. He completed the XL, and he said he went back home, and all he did was pop the seals off, clean the bearings, put new grease in. Everything worked just fine. So
the Enduros I was referencing,
a little money up front can save you a lot of money down the road.
Yeah, I think that's probably the case.
Yes.
So we had
yes.
Stage 13 of the tour. Some of us have watched it. DS, did you watch today?
Yeah, that was spicy. I came in and I flipped it on, and it was good. It was interesting. There was two huge breaks off. A big group went off, and then another group went off ahead of the peloton. So I think at one point there were like 60 guys up the road, something like that, like 40 and 20 or 40 and 30. It was huge, and nobody from Trek made the break, and so Peterson, racing for his green sprint points, had to take off because both Girmay and Philipsen made the move. And that was pretty impressive, to work his butt off in that second group to get up to him and then catch and get second in the sprint points. And then, it was an interesting day on GC too, huh? What did you guys think about Pidcock's opportunist ride today?
Well, I love it, and I want to root for him over the weekend, but he might be tired. We might have seen the best of his GC positioning. He might crack, but you know what? That guy's, he's got some years under his belt. He might be able to survive and hold a higher place on GC, which will be quite a moment for him. And today's stage winner, Mads Schmidt, is going to ride with Pidcock next year. He's going to be on that team, so it's kind of an interesting thing to consider. They first climbed this climb in 1905. It was the first mountain climb in the Tour, which that surprised me that it wasn't the Tourmalet or some other iconic climb. They're in the Vosges Mountains. Back then they were on single speeds, and the race promoters allowed them to swap bikes for this climb.
Oh, just have a bike with the low gearing.
Yeah. And the winner's time average speed was 12 miles an hour on a single speed. So that's, back in 1905, that's pretty amazing.
Impressive, really.
It was the longest stage of the Tour this year. It was interesting to see Mohoric blow up on the climb. And then they got Michael Matthews over the climb. He's a pretty good sprinter. I think he ultimately finished top 15. He wasn't there at the end.
Yeah, he couldn't quite get on after that last climb. They tried to just get him right there.
Matteo Jorgensen was dropped from the peloton today. He was in the Gruppetto. So that's an interesting development. Maybe he's not feeling well from his crash, or who knows.
One caveat on that, did you see there was some quote of his? Now, I don't know if it's good PRing, but he said something to the effect of, so long as Tadej and Jonas are here, I'm not here to win the Tour, so why am I racing the finale? I might as well save myself for, save myself. However, you would think that a day like today would be a day that he would be saving himself for, just in case something happened. So I don't know if, like you said, that was some good PRing to try and dissuade from the fact that maybe the form isn't quite there.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
I didn't watch the stage, but as I was listening to you, I want to jump in and give you a free lap right now. Mads Schmidt won Unbound. Mauro Schmidt won the stage today. Because I listened to that, I'm like, wait, I had to look it up because I haven't watched it. But I can't expect to come on the pod and not get any spoilers. But
my gray matter was not firing quite fast enough to put that all together, Chaos. So good on you.
So I'll move quickly through the rest of my notes. Total Energy, they did not have a soignier on the climb, and their rider, Yeget, on his Q bike, they're no longer riding NV frames. He was struggling to get a bottle from any team. He was reaching out other teams, and no one was giving him a bottle. And he was, in the finale, I felt bad for him. I felt bad for that team.
Yeah.
Pedersen got caught, and on his way back, he was doing the satellite cooling. He was cooling. So probably I don't know what rider he was.
Maybe was in there.
Yeah. So he had a bunch of bottles.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that was just to highlight what a dude. Misses the move, gets in the second move, pounds it out to get up there, beats Girmay in the sprint, doesn't quite beat Philipsen, drops back, then spraying him off with bottles, then throws away all his bottles, then goes back to the front and pulls again.
Correct.
Which I probably just scooped you on that one, but
no, you didn't. That was the next thing on my notes. Then he's motoring at the front for a fair amount of time.
Yeah.
So amazing. My last note is him pulling on the climb after he'd been caught, and he'd done all of his work.
Yeah, that was just pretty incredible. It really was.
So that's some racing. Anybody have any other races that they want to cover? I'm glad to hear that Leadville looks like it's going to be on, and the fire situation is subsided enough.
I just wanted to bring up two things from the tour. One, if you guys saw this stage, I think that was yesterday, where I don't think that was this morning, right? It was yesterday where Quinn Simmons was on the attack in the group, and you see him get out of the saddle, and he's sprinting, and then all of a sudden he sits down, just reaches out and high fives this dude on the side of the road that's his dad. And I was just like, that was pretty hilarious. And saying that, at the very beginning, when Quinn Simmons first came into the World Tour, I was like, I don't know. I mean, aside from the motor and everything, I'm like, what's this dude about everything? But I got to say, I'm a Quinn Simmons fan. It definitely warmed up to him. And you know what? The dude's a gamer. He's a bike racer. He's a team player, all of that. And I thought it was funny, not only that he high-fived his dad, but the one day after the stage, there was the Quinn Simmons super fan that had like the red mullet, all cut in, and had a Trek jersey, and Simmons was signing his jersey and stuff. So that was my one of the two things I wanted to talk about in the racing. So I don't know what you guys think about Quinn, how you feel about him.
Well, his parents landed.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. His parents landed yesterday, and they made it to the course to get that high five. They flew to Europe and landed.
That's good. That's so rad. Yeah.
I'm in the same boat as you, DS. I'm definitely becoming more of a fan. But I was thinking about that, right? You can't plan something like that. Like maybe, Dad's going to try to be on this climb, but does he actually get there, blah, blah, blah. But then the fact that he was on the attack and was on that side of the road. Yeah. He could have been attacking up the other side of the road, and it wouldn't have happened. So that was like this convergence of events that I thought that was equally as amazing as him actually, picking him out and doing that. But it was, and then they got it on camera.
Yeah. I mean, everything about it, it was just hilarious. It wasn't somebody's, Instagram that showed up later. It was like right on camera. Yeah, that was great.
So Mr. Simmons was quite the interview post-race today from his social moment yesterday. His other son is on Education First, last year's national champion, or a couple of years back he was national champion. Remind me of the son's name. The other son is named
blanking it. Maybe that's our amateur.
A free lap on that son. The dad likes to ride and climb 1,000,000 miles a year. his dad smoked me at the wafer in Arizona, and I think the mom beat me also.
Yeah.
So the Simmons family is quite respectable all the way around.
That's cool.
Colby Simmons.
Colby.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm learning to use the magic of the internet when we need it straight away. Then we can take fewer free laps.
Yeah, there you go.
And it was interesting to watch the dad manage the press today. In the questions, you could see father and son have similar media styles. As much media training as Quinn has had and as much controversy as he's had in the media.
Right.
They both answer questions in the same fashion. So that was interesting. I recommend you watch that if you get it on YouTube or somewhere. They interviewed him today.
I'll have to look at that. Then my other note of tour racing. I mean, there's so much, right? What do you think about? But of course, as I love the sprint stages, and pretty much all the true sprint stages are gone. I'm not sure. Is this your Champs-Élysées stage? Champs-Élysées, however you pronounce it. Is it back to a true sprint stage, or are they doing something like they did last year?
They have the same climb as back.
Yeah.
No, they're doing it
road
like
race climb. Yeah.
All right. So then this may have just been the last sprint stage, but you know, this last stage that Tim Merlier won, and he's just been the best sprinter. I mean, you can see that, but it's like, you know how it is. And obviously at whatever level you're racing at, KS, as you were a sprinter, I was a sprinter. When you get that form as a sprinter, it's just like you can kind of do no wrong because you have such confidence in yourself sprinting that you're not worried about waiting a little longer for the gap to open up because, you know, you just believe you're going to have the acceleration to get around it. You know, you just go so by instinct. And this last sprint that he won, he was so far back. You know, I was looking at how far back, you know, they were with, like, say 500 meters ago and stuff. And he was like, you know, 12th or 15th or something. And there was this one gap where right at the end he had to shoot, but he actually had to coast and stop pedaling for just a stitch to make it and go through, and then still had the power to get around him and win. And it was just super impressive. So like his mastery of the sprints was just, I mean, he just handled those guys. It was pretty cool to watch somebody do that.
Tim Merlier is 6'1", and he typically rides 170 or 172 5 cranks. Someone tried to tell me he was on 175s. I was like, I don't know. But anyway, I needed to quickly look that up. He's 6'1", and on 172s at the longest. I
would see that. I still think that, you know, from the whole short crank thing, and having switched myself in the span of 3 years from, actually 2.5 years, from 175s to 165s, I do still think as a sprinter, the little bit longer crank, I see how that still might have merit because I don't know. I feel like where you're accelerating that gear at first, I don't know. I mean, I'm not, you know, I don't have a power meter anymore to go out and actually like put 165s and 175s on my bikes and switch. But I feel like some part of that, if there was any part that not going to the short cranks would still be the jam, I could see sprinting being it.
So I wanted to share this photo, which
dude, look at that.
When we were modeling, this is from his first stage win, and this is a Jared Gruber photo that Jared's doing a promotion with Bike Flights, and I've shipped with Bike Flights, so I'm on their email list, and they're having this like competition, and you can win a Jared Gruber print. But we were marveling at how low he gets because there were some great head-on shots. But I wanted to share this side shot. Plus, I mean, the crowd there—they're just like
so sick.
Everyone's in it, you know. But just how low that guy. Like, look where
his head is lower than his back when you look at him from the front. That's
his chin is lower than the nose of his saddle.
Yeah.
Right? You look at that.
Although he is air scooping, that might be giving him a few centimeters, but
exactly. But I mean, that's like
John
that
Beckman.
Right there is just some sprint form low, and then you have that the mastery. I mean, this is part
sprint
of what you're
form
talking
low
about.
Wasn't that the Chinese sprinter? Sprint form low. Yeah.
But yeah, this is just this shot, and then of course, you know, the masterful marketing machine that is Specialized has been using. This is one of their one of their Tarmac 9 launch points. The Aero. Right? You're talking about Aero and lightweight, and it's all the same thing. So, but I thought this was just a great one to show that because the guy is he's unstoppable, just like Philipsen was a couple of years ago, and now Philipsen's close, but he's not there.
Just doesn't quite have it.
Yeah,
doesn't quite have that extra sauce.
Yeah, I just spent my time confirming he is on 172.5 cranks. Yeah, Ben Edwards, our buddy, featured Merlier's bike in the launch. He jumped on the truck and broke down the bike and talked about it.
That was great.
Specialized also released a 60-minute video of breaking down the bike, which I thought was a pretty interesting, compelling YouTube. And Ben is the host of that, where they break down the bike and they talk about the design, and even that the bike is designed to not have a second water bottle in it. That's why that rear fin behind the seat tube is there. That fin doesn't really do anything if the water bottle is there, and that their idea is when you're in a sprint, you don't have that bottle in, you've already tossed it. So interesting things that our buddy Ben Edwards broke down, and you can find him talking about on the internet with the engineers and the aero designers and the carbon layup people, and good stuff
cool.
out there.
I'll have to check that out.
It was great too. They did that in this first stage that Merlier won. He had a bottle on the seat tube. And of course, all the trolls were quick to point that out.
They were.
Yes.
He still had time in hand. He still had a centimeter in hand if he would have pulled the bottle out.
If he hadn't, he would have won by more, right?
What are you saying?
And next year, Soudal will have a new title sponsor. They'll be Soudal Safety Jogger, and they won't be on Specialized. They'll be on Merida frames, which probably make Specialized bikes anyway. So anyway,
that's going to be interesting to see. I'm going to have to just stand up here real quick, guys, and stretch. So I'm going to tilt this up. Oh yeah.
Well, that's an interesting one, but it's also kind of a if we want to jump around a little bit. Specialized, a bike company that kind of became a marketing company, and now I think they're the most successful bicycle manufacturer / marketing company in the world. If we jump around to the good idea files, Specialized has been in the news, and as much as they have with that SL9, that tarmac, I think the bigger news, which I'm convinced that they were part of, was Courtney's announcement that we had talked about, but that she's going to the World Tour with the FDJ Suez United team, and that dropped on the first rest day of the tour. So on Monday, we're recording on Friday, and I would argue that they have owned the internet. I mean, other than the Tour de France, and even owned it beyond the Tour de France. I think on the rest day we're on par with that. So another masterful move. And we talked about this before it dropped. Is Kate eyeing the 28 Olympics in LA? Well, we've got our answer. She's back on Specialized. I don't know if we spoke about that one on the last pod, but we spoke about it off camera. That she won her 2018 cross country world championship racing for Specialized, and they've got her back there. They release video, in their retool room down at the wind tunnel down there in Morgan Hill. I say down there, up there for you guys. So I think it's a masterful marketing machine behind Kate with her people. Then you've got Red Bull, that's a personal sponsor, and then of course Specialized. So, and I think Demi Vollering has some good people behind her who might co-collaborate with the FDJ team, and that trickles over. So that's going to be a super exciting one to watch. And I haven't seen the internet abuzz about something positive like that in cycling in a long time. Usually they jump on the negative stuff, and it's the positive. So you guys have probably seen that. I mean, you couldn't avoid it.
Oh yeah, I thought it was. I thought it, it's great for her, obviously. And I think too, like you think about for somebody at the stage of her career, right? Just like her move away from cross-country mountain biking and focusing more on, from like World Cup racing, and she wins the Marathon World, and she wins Leadville and gets the press with the blips and holding on to the crown. And then she wins, she's up at the pointy end of all these early season races, including Levi's Fondo, and then she wins the national championship on the road. And you think about how excited she is, and you can just tell, how enthusiastic, right? How pumped she is about the road. And so think about this is great for her. She's not expecting this at the start of the season, probably, right? Things go so well now. She's all fired up for the road, gets a taste of Europe, gets to come home, and she's going to be so motivated all winter. Because, right, it's just a contract through the Olympics. And then she just, you know how it is, like at later stage of your career, to find that type of focus, to really go out and want to put in that extra suffering and do all the extra little stuff. I just think it's a great move for her. And then the best part is obviously she doesn't have to work for Demi Vollering at the Olympics. You know?
You know, I would argue, though, that I think that this was definitely in the back of her mind, not having any intel on it, but looking back, you know, because we talked about, I do the all the announcing and the interviews for the Grasshopper series, and it was one of the hoppers. Kate was supposed to show up, and then kind of last minute she didn't, and I saw she was doing big miles with Kristen Faulkner and someone else. They were riding down the coast, you know,
right? And
this was, I mean, I don't know, February, March, whatever, one of the ones. She usually would come out to a couple of the early ones. And I saw that, and I'm like, that seems kind of strange, you know, that she's doing this. So I think that they're, you know, maybe not the exact thing with FDJ and Specialized.
Right.
Maybe it was. I mean, we know Red Bull has a relationship with Specialized, right, with the Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe team. And she's the hottest property in U.S. women's cycling right now.
Yeah. I'm sure she must have considered making the Olympic road team, but the whole FDJ, I mean, and you know, you could maybe unpack a little bit more, Ed, because we were going back and forth about, you know, sponsorship. Who's she going to keep? Is she not? We were wondering, is it just when she's on the road, FDJ, that she's on Specialized and she keeps Allied when she's not? But it's none of that, right?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think the Allied thing is over. I think the Giro helmet deal is over. She did a farewell to Giro helmet. So she's purely Specialized. I think the Rafa clothing thing was probably gone too. Whether she keeps Rivian, you know, maybe they stay on as part of her foundation, which still lives on.
Right.
Hard to say. Maybe Rivian joins the team over there in Europe. She's not racing Leadville. She's riding the Tour of Britain or something like that. And the other thing that I would quickly add in is she did ride with the U.S. national team this early season. So she was in Europe racing with them, and that got her ready for pro nationals in the United States, where she won. So she's been cooking on this one for a while.
Right. Yeah.
I'm looking on the socials with Velo right now. Yeah. They're talking about it, you know, and she's saying this wasn't so much on her radar. You know, we always know what we hear. We don't actually know what happened unless you were there. But this is really pretty cool. Yeah. And
So July is all about media releases, team signings. For us, July was about Super Week. And we had a nice reader send us some photos, and, you know, Super Week was all about the Stockton brothers. I was at the back getting whiplash or tendonitis in my elbow, but the last year the three of us raced Super Week, which together. I can remember looking down, together. I can remember finishing races and looking down at my Avocet black computer. It was probably black. It might have been neon green at that time. But the average speed after 100K criterium, now granted, you guys just had your Masters Nationals and this and that state championships at Manhattan Beach. Criterium racing back then was a little more intense than what I saw on YouTube over the weekend. I got to bag a little on what I saw. These smaller fields, you know, like, come on, man. Like, racing back then was beans. And I looked down at my Avocet, and I can remember 31 mile an hour average for 100K.
Yeah.
And you try riding the back at that speed. That means you're going to have a lot of whiplash. So
I think
we were all there. We had a nice reader submit some photos. And of course, you know,
neon green Avocet on my bike right there to match the neon green American Commerce jersey. Dude, you got to match the neon green bottom of my bike.
Yeah.
Look, I got the green, got it matching up. Although I don't have the green shades on, but I got the white top to match the time helmet there, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's Miansky to your right. He was launching SRAM. He was launching SRAM. Believe it or not, he has the first SRAM product on his bike right there in that photo.
Yeah. Before they were SRAM, they were still just known as Grip Shift back then.
Yeah.
couple years earlier.
Well, the SRAM logo was on the box, by the way. SRAM stands for the original founders, Steve and Ramsey and whatever, making it spell out SRAM. The SRAM name was I knew it, and they gave away grip shift to anyone who would take it. I know that they paid Mionsky.
Yeah. Remember that? I mean, it's not a bad idea for the early thing, except they spun the wrong way. I remembered thinking that you wanted to shift harder by twisting out, but I think it twisted in, and I was like, wait, what? But even still, amazing that was their first product when you look at the company that they are now, which proves the innovation.
According to the Internet of Things, the AI overview, it says grip shift didn't become SRAM. They were the exact same entity from the beginning. SRAM Corporation was founded in 1987.
So grip shift was just the product.
With the sole purpose of manufacturing and selling the grip shift twist shifter. So it was the first and only product they had then. So that was
right.
it. Yes.
Yeah, I was just I always love looking at little knickknacks, I'm sure I have 32 hole spoke wheels on, with the shallowest flat rims like everybody else does there. Mm-hmm. And then the neon American Commerce $ jersey, which was either a love it or hate it. People, dude, that's so sick. People, dude, what that, Had my Slada paint job, the neon paint job. I had Suntour Superb Pro levers on and fingertip shifters. That was the year of that was kind of the brakes. Fingertips. Yeah, were 89. Oh yeah, Suntour Superb Pro brakes. 89 and 90 fingertips, and then the STI shifters, road shifters came out in 90K, which was when you got them. Actually out for the public.
Look at all the time shoes too.
Yeah, look at that sea of white and red.
I mean, tell me the name of any other shoe. Mionsky probably has a specialized shoe because he's on a specialized bike with a specialized helmet.
Yeah.
But yeah, the first white road shoes.
It's interesting that you guys are both wearing Descent bib shorts.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what was it? We had the jerseys were American Commerce, but I know what it was. The team they got these terrible bibs. I don't remember the name of the company that made them, but I think the only person that you guys wore them, but they did not fit me. So I just went out and bought some Descent bibs, but they had a big old, I think they had American Commerce in white on the side, but something about the shape of the chamois or something like that was just like, there was no way I could wear them.
Oh, so it was a Colombian company.
Yeah.
We called it Roachwear.
Yeah, do you remember those things?
Their logo was a little roach. Yeah. What was that?
Anyway, so yeah. But the jerseys were Giordana. I think they had bought jerseys the year before they got the jersey or something. I don't remember why we didn't have bibs. I remember we got skin suits. I think that they were just late on getting the clothing is what it was.
I don't ever recall an American Commerce logo Giordana bib short the entire time we rode on that team.
We didn't have them, I don't think. I think we only got jerseys and skin suits and then that had Colombiana ones, but like I said, they weren't meshing with DS's taint, so I had to give them the heave-ho.
Well, here's our photos got mixed up here. Here's another Super Week one. So same year,
right?
And from our same listener. So Super Week 90, Andy Paul and racing for the Silver Bullet, Coors Light, bar end shifter. Brian Walton.
The bar ends.
Yeah, the bar ends were still there. Brian Walton on a 7-Eleven there. 7-Eleven was a big Shimano team, so he had the STIs, and then there's me suffering behind those guys. Although I would argue we all kind of have our own suffer face going on in this photo.
I like that Paulin's already standing up, like on the attack out of the corner.
Yeah, that's him.
Just going for
it. He gave a great draft. 6'4", 200 plus pounds. Yeah, he was a good wheel to be on as long as you could see around him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those are I think we spoke about this before. I had the STI levers because Wayne Stetna found me after the Pro Championships. So this was after the Pro Championships, but I didn't have a jersey yet because I only had the one that I had won at the race.
Right.
It was like a size 5 or whatever. But again, that crazy tech, right? Like, look at how wide those tires are.
Look how wide the handlebars are.
I know. Wide handlebars, narrow tires.
Who would have thought it would be going the other way, right? That the tires are wider and the handlebars are narrower.
Yeah.
Funny.
That was some...
Super Week was amazing. It was probably, 2 or 3 weeks. You could race every day. You needed some rest days. Jackie Duran came over and raced that year with us, and he went on to wear the yellow jersey after that, but he didn't make his tour team that year, so you'd have riders that wanted to come do something while the tour was going on if they didn't make their tour team, and they would come to Super Week. Jackie D was there that year.
Yeah, because I remember the legends we were told is basically during the tour, during that time that the racing basically died.
Yeah.
Like if you didn't make the tour team, it was difficult to maintain fitness if you didn't, time it to take a vacation. And Otto Wentz, who was the head promoter at Super Week, he would bring these European riders over. He would pay their airfares. He would get them lodging. I don't know if he paid them start money. Maybe he did. But the racing, to your point there, Ed, it was on every day, and you had to strategically figure out the days you weren't going to race, because I think it ended up being like 17 days total that you could race Super Week. 16 or 17 days.
Holy Hill was one I like to sit out.
Yeah.
My rest day time with Holy Hill. Another good feature of
this is Holy Hill right here, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Another good feature of Super Week was that if you were, been racing in Southern California back then, right? I mean, we started racing at the beginning of February, and people might now go, oh, there's criteriums in January, but we were racing like every weekend starting in February. That was like the start. But after a long season, right, we kind of peaked for the Pro Championships that week in June, those couple weeks in June. And then you're like, oh man, I got to race out the rest of the year. You knew that if you went back to Super Week and raced, that all you had to do was come home from Super Week, get like a week of rest in, and then you pretty much, without having to train too hard, could definitely just have unbelievable form to finish out the rest of the year. I mean, obviously you still had to train, but that bump you would get from Super Week and then coming back and racing in SoCal and doing those, you had the form the rest of the year. So it was a good one to do.
Or you'd arrive back home smoked, completely smoked, and never be the same that year.
Then, so maybe then even 2 weeks of rest didn't do it if you're never quite the same. But you're telling the story right now, so that shows that there's definitely merit to that experience.
And if I remember correctly, Ed, too, the short criteriums at Super Week were 50 miles.
Yeah,
so they were either 50 miles or 100K. And maybe there was one of them less than that, but and the hard part was those 100K criteriums would start at like 5 in the evening, 5, 6 o'clock, and you'd get on this terrible cycle, especially if you had a Mountain Dew or a Jolt Cola there for the last hour, 45 minutes. And you'd get on this routine where you get to sleep later and later.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think that's why you skip a road race every once in a while, because the criteriums always seems like they always started in the evenings, and the road races always started in the mornings.
Yeah.
And so to do that flip around, it was like, okay, what are you going to do? But same guy, I think Jose Mercado, he gave me this one a while ago. So I had Super Week that year, and this is the if people don't remember Eddie Van Geis, who was a race announcer forever, he was a bike racer. Eddie actually had a little small cameo in Breaking Away as well, but he was the voice of Super Week. So I remember, and I actually just looked back at when you reminded me of this photo. I went back and looked at the training log, and I won the first stage of Super Week that day, which was the short lakefront road race on Saturday morning. That night we had Downer Avenue, not Downers Grove. Downers Grove was the Pro Criterium Championship in west of Chicago. Downer Avenue, and I looked at it and said, I won that morning. I had no legs that night and lost the jersey. So I had the jersey for half a day. But it's just cool to see.
You're kind of like Link.
Yeah.
Got it in the morning, lost it in the afternoon.
Yeah. I would argue, his.
Alex
Steve's on a slightly bigger stage, but
Steve's jerseys were a slightly bigger stage, but it's just fun to have those the training logs and look back and like, oh, all right. And I think that must be the overall winners
trophy on
trophy
the
right there. And so I think they have that there every day just to show people what you'd win. Back when big old trophies were big old trophies, huh?
There are so many funny tidbits about Super Week, like how you would just go and, after the race, you would go to get your prize money and they just had envelopes full of cash. You know, and it's like down through the line, you go up. I was 13th, you get an envelope, 13th place, whatever, $200. And I remember that we had raced it in '88 when we were with Conejo Velo, that whole team. We went back. I went back in '89 and raced it with Danny Van Hout. We were on that Nissan team, and I think it was PAC actually, that one that Schuler won all the time. And I remember getting that race, and I go in, and Danny and I, we're splitting our prize money, and so we would get the envelope, open it up, and just divvy up the cash equally. If there was ever a over under, whoever placed better, did it. But they give me my money for whatever place, and they're like, look at this, Derin Stockton, 12th place, 1988 from the year before. And they're like, ding. Dude, and there was still just an envelope with a couple $100 cash in there from the year before. Yeah. So I got the double payout. Of course, Beast was trying to claim, that, hey, now that got handed out this year. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
From my efforts last year.
So, I had one more Super Week photo, 87 here.
Yeah.
Right. So that's me in the 10-speed drive, the red helmet kind of center. Olympic speed skating gold medalist, first winner of course it's Eric Heiden right there. So even Eric Heiden raced at Super Week when he was on 7-Eleven. Yeah. And this was the year after those guys made their tour debut.
Yep.
Right. So still they're racing. I mean, the fields. I have a feeling this one is maybe that one around the brewery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of all the brick.
Yeah, I know I have some more of photos from this exact race, but when you guys brought up Super Week when we were getting going, I couldn't. My filing system isn't quite the filing system I thought it was, so they aren't where they should be. But I'll find those photos and share them at a later one. But again, just the number of racers and how competitive it was and how hard the racing was. It was great, and then to have the Europeans there. I mean, you have a guy like Heiden there as well.
Now, do you still have clips and straps in that shot, KS? 87? I don't think you were on clipless yet, were you?
No, I don't. I think I'm wearing those Broncoli, the gray ones that Le Mans made famous, the two Velcro strap gray ones. But I don't think we got that. We got
clipless on time.
That
is when we got them.
So it was that winter. I think I tried look pedals early that winter in the off season, and then we got the time pedals November, December of 87 going into 88. So still on toe clips there.
Now, KS, you are up on the levers going through the corner when everybody else is on the drops,
Yeah, but I was thinking forward to 2027 when everyone rides on the drops these days, right?
Yeah.
Well, look at the size of the drops on my Hemsworth.
Look at those things.
Look at that.
That's like a foot of drop. Look at
that right there.
That's why the stems were like so high and up on the tops, because the drops were so low that if you had that slammed, you might as well have like the old Pursuiters where they just welded the handlebars coming off the fork crown. Yeah, exactly. Those things would be so low.
So that was a good one.
Super Week.
Super Week was a place in July. We started racing there as juniors. KS might have been a first year senior. We had quite a bit of time there. We went to some salad bars where they would have the smoking section and the non-smoking section around the salad bar.
Yeah.
It was hard to eat. It was an interesting lifestyle. I always perk up when someone says Wisconsin, because I think we all know the small little towns, Madison, those little towns up to the north, the towns to the south, close to Chicago. I think we all know that state, and we all think back fondly. We posted these pictures on Instagram, and we had a lot of great comments from a lot of old-time riders, so you can enjoy them there. Moving on to Blinded by... Well, let's see. DS, you had a What Went Wrong.
I just had a What Went Wrong, even though I'm sure everybody's seen it by now. But the What Went Wrong, I guess we know what went wrong with Pidcock's shifter. And in the one stage, and I just thought that was amazing, that it just so happened that a little piece of tarmac flipped up and got wedged in between the lever so it wouldn't shift. As people maybe saw him like kicking on his derailleur, thinking it had reset or gone into crash mode because it wasn't shifting, but then he finally figured it out because the remote buttons, right, that are up on him were still shifting. But I thought that was, you could tell his frustration, even though it was a different mechanism from him dropping his chain in the critical moment at Liège. You could see the frustration in Pidcock was just like, dude, what the, off in the break in that finale, but finally got it working, but like what a chance, like such a slim chance for something to fly up and get that. And you can imagine how in the moment you're just going, the shifter's not working,
Well, and
They're not doing it.
Yeah, but his other one was, right? So his
right.
It would shift into the lighter gear, but it wouldn't shift into the heavier gear.
Right.
And it's interesting because you said something there about crash mode. SRAM doesn't have a crash mode. That's a Shimano thing.
Right.
And I was watching an interview with one of his team principals talking about, he thought it had gone into crash mode. I was like, that right
you
there
should know
said
that.
to me that you don't actually know as much about the equipment that your team is racing on as you think you know.
Yeah.
By saying it went into crash mode, because it doesn't have that crash mode. Because granted, I've dropped my SRAM bike hard on the trailer and it gets up and it shifts. So there is, my watch goes off, the Garmin goes off, the alerts are going, but there is no crash mode there. So maybe that should have been the amateur
maybe
in our
so.
Comments. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so, for kicking the derailleur. Well,
so the next day, if something went wrong for Pidcock, he slid out on the lime in that turn. And they've been sprinkling lime to cool down the road, add some white to cool down the road because the black tarmac is probably getting too hot. And I think in that particular spot, the road wasn't hot and the lime wasn't absorbing. So he crashed the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Matteo Jorgensen also crashed in that turn as well. The lime was loose, the white powder.
I wonder if that's why Matteo's been struggling.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a bummer to see that. I mean, especially Pidcock. What did he say? He didn't think he'd ever even crashed on the descent of a tour or crashed in a Grand Tour before, something like that. So
that's something the race organization decided was a good idea?
Yeah, because in the Massif Central, it's been so hot. And so the tarmac, in a lot of these...
like that tarry...
Yeah, they paid a lot of them fresh for the races, so they also sprinkle lime. You'll see that white powder to cool down the fresh tarmac, so...
Yeah.
Is it... Do you know, is it something that lime does and it interacts with the tarmac, or is it just the fact that it's white?
I think a little of both. Soaks it up.
Soaks it up. Because we've all ridden on either fresh pavement or like you've seen tar that it almost is like the La Brea tar pits where it wants to bubble up through the surface when it gets soft. I mean, I remember racing in Super Week, right? You'd be going up a climb and you'd like stay away from where they filled the cracks with the tar because it would be soft.
It would get squirrely a little. Well, I know in Supercross, dirt bike racing, indoor stadium racing, they used to use lime to hold the dirt together, and the lime will suck the moisture out of the dirt, and they do it to hold the tracks together because they get beat up by the tires. But they had a big snafu at the San Diego Supercross like 3 or 4 years ago, maybe it was 2022, and it rained, and whoever was on the lime was clueless, and they were just sprinkling lime out, but then there was lime in the standing water, and all these athletes got like their skin burned. Everybody's bikes were ruined. The lime just like etches out all of the anodizing and everything, and you had like factory bikes in the third round of the race that were basically like scrap. But it was a big deal. They stopped using lime for that reason, and several athletes sued them. They had health problems. Roxon got really screwed up, and so lime, like I know from that, it's used to take up moisture, like more so if the dirt is wet or it's like a mud race. But I would imagine it's just the same thing on tarmac. It just soaks it up and kind of makes it, dry with some grip. But if you don't soak it up or don't sweep enough off, then, we have what happened.
Yeah, so that combines science, blinded by science, and what went wrong. Those are two mixing of our segments and mixing of materials.
I would even also offer that the tour having lime on the road that took out Pidcock and Jorgensen is an amateur for the tour.
Amateur at the tour. Well, here's a little overview. It says during the stage 10, race organizers sprayed lime mixed with water on parts of the tarmac, particularly on technical descents like the Col de Puy-Marie, to prevent the asphalt from melting in extreme heat. This measure sparked controversy when multiple riders crashed, leading competitors to criticize the treatment for making the road slick. And then it says the controversy and safety concerns. The heat protection substance is intended to reflect sunlight and keep the road below critical temperatures.
Wow. So that's
However,
what it is.
riders, including Olympic mountain bike champion Tom Pidcock and Matteo Jorgensen, lost control and suffered crashes during the stage, pointing to the chalky residue as the primary cause. Pidcock publicly expressed frustration at the substance, likening its texture to the road on the road to ice. And then, of course, the ASO had a response. And I'll read this, and then we can dive in if we want. Tour de France road coordinator Andre Bancala pushed back on the riders' criticisms, defending the lime wash as a necessary safety measure. He noted that when extreme temperatures cause asphalt to soften, it creates major traction hazards. Bancala argued that the treatment is not inherently slippery and that the descents are simply difficult, advising the riders needed to adjust their racing lines and speed rather than blaming the coating.
Well, but who's advising them? Did you put a sign up that say you've got lime in the corner? I mean, at least do that and have somebody there saying slow down.
Yeah.
I love the fact that he just says descents are dangerous, but yes, a lot more dangerous if they got a substance on them that makes them slippery.
Interesting. Yeah, that last sentence seems like he shouldn't have said that one to me. So.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully there are no health
well, that's what I was thinking. You crash in lime and you got like road rash with lime in it. That can't be good.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Well, especially
we'll see.
Point with that Supercross stuff. So.
Yeah. Now, granted, they could have not done anything, and a bunch of people would have crashed on the tar, and then they would be bagging on him for not putting it down. But yeah.
Well, remember the famous scene with Jose Bupalaki wiping out in the Tour and breaking his femur, and Armstrong avoiding him and riding through the center of that switchback, doing a little off-road, jumping back on. And I think that was in the Mestif Central as well, and it was the exact same thing. I mean, they know this with these roads. It's not something new. I mean, what was that? Was that 20 years ago when that happened, maybe?
23 years ago. I think that was 03 Tour.
So it's been going on. It's kind of strange that, well, maybe that's the best. I don't have experience with it, so I don't know what the best solution is, if that's the best one or if there's a better one. It's unfortunate that the riders got injured.
Well, I think one thing that'll help is wider tires. I've been blinding my science with 35C Continental 5000 STRs.
Whoa.
They are faster on the rolling drum on bicycle rolling resistance than the 32C tires. Now, granted, they're not aerodynamic, but aero is not really a thing for me. I don't shave my legs. So, amazing tires, amazing experience. I'm enjoying them. They're my blinded by science and my personal products that I'm testing. I think it's interesting that the data shows that they are probably faster for rolling resistance than 32C exact same tire.
What pressure have you ended up? Where have you found your way at right now?
Well, that's a good question, because I sometimes I talk to SRAM, sometimes I talk to Silka, sometimes I talk to WolfTooth on my prior pressure. So I'm using the WolfTooth app. They have a bicycle rolling resistance calculator. Mm-hmm. It's an app. It's pretty nice. It's free, I believe. So they have me at 52 in the rear and 49 in the front. I think I rode a little higher than that to start.
52.49. I'm trying to think.
Only 3 degrees different.
Or
3 PSI.
When I was riding the Camino, if you guys remember that bike, and I had those 30C Schwalbe ones on there, I was at 69 and 76. But that's also a 30. I mean, if you're going up to a 35, so I would think you're probably, in the ballpark.
They also caliper at 36, so with this app you can put in stated width or actual, which is a nice feature of the app.
Oh, yeah.
You can also put in your temperature that you expect to ride at and the temperature you're inflating at, your total body weight, and it's a good little app. but you can get different opinions out there.
Yeah.
So what with that PSI with the 35s that measure at 36? What's your body weight right now?
Body weight of 205 total weight in the calculator of 227.
Oh, bike and gear plus person.
Correct.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I've been riding these WTB exposures, hot patches, 700 by 30, but they're a 32. I believe that they have adjusted their hot patches using the same tire and the same mold, so it's a 32. And I run 50 in the front and 55 in the rear on the road bike, and I find it works pretty well. I also have a set of their exposures in 36 that mic out at 38. So I'm as soon as I build another set of wheels, I'm going to throw those on too and ride that, because that MV Melee I have, it has that clearance. So it's I mean, it's crazy, isn't it, to think of those, like we were looking at those old Super Week photos when we were riding 23s at 100 and what 105. We realized that like you didn't need 115.
Yeah, right? It seems like we went so fast through the corners on those bikes.
Yeah.
Though, I mean, like, really, when you
still have tendonitis in my elbow from holding on.
I also remember sliding out quite often on skinny tires
also
to push it. Yeah. Of course, that was when we went to clinchers from tubulars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That year when we raced Super Week, I was on a Diamondback TIG welded steel bike.
Oh yeah.
With a T-bone Diamondback or a T-bone Tioga. John Tomac style stem.
Yeah.
And Chinelli 6644 drop bars, and I still have tendonitis in my elbow from that year and those narrow tires. I mean, I was probably on Victoria CX and CG.
Yeah.
They were, Mavic rims.
What were those, 23s?
Yeah. All those soaps, 23 was kind of like that.
I think they were a little wider than we thought. Because they were very round. They were very supple.
Well,
also think about also just think about how much, when you think about traction overall, how much give there was in the rim. That shallow rim and the steel fork and the head tube and all of that. So you're getting some suspension and handling, some feel as you go through the corners on those.
The last thing I would add about my GP STR 35Cs. GP 5000 is I was running the ASTRs for about 2 years, which is the all-season version. They're sort of wet weather, and a friend of mine's like, "Oh, you're giving up 15 watts on that one. You need to get rid of those all-season ones." And he was right, so I moved away. This is me not riding all-season tires all season.
Nice.
So how long have you had them on?
Just a week. A little over a week. So, yeah, three rides maybe max, but they are a little big when you look down at them. They're not the sexiest looking things, but I like the feel, and they feel fast.
And you are running tubeless at that PSI, obviously. Yeah.
Correct.
Do you know the internal width of your rims?
No, I wish I did. But they're DT Swiss, and they're a little bit older, so I imagine they're pretty narrow,
20, 22.
19, 20, yeah.
The rule of 105 in aerodynamics is not taking place on them. They're way wider than the rim, so I'm not 5% bigger than the internals.
Right.
But I like the comfort dynamics like you do more than the aerodynamics, right? I'm faster if I'm comfortable rather than faster if I'm faster.
I think we covered the good idea files a little with the PR team of Kate Courtney, but that was some good marketing going on there.
Yeah, I agree.
It's still going too. It's crazy. Yeah.
And for me, I'm going to give the good idea files to the Radial app that is put out by Matteo Jorgensen's brother, who was laid off by the Boston Public Library System, and he made this incredible app, which is with my coffee every morning, is a great addition to the Tour de France. You can see all the riders in the breakaway. It's nice on your phone. You can click into the chatter section if you want to see what the internet is saying. It's like pro cycling stats on your phone. and it's an excellent app. It's called Radial, and it was made by Matteo Jorgensen's brother, and I think it's great. When I first wake up in the morning, I can see exactly where they are in the stage. It's very graphical, very visual, and it's excellent to study GC, and it's quicker than scrolling around on your computer. So it's a great way to see the overall for this green jersey, all the attributes.
Right.
And Radial is spelled, I think I should probably let you know how it's spelled.
I think it's spelled regular, Radial.
Yeah.
It's got that cool little logo that's like an R that looks like a racetrack or something.
Yeah,
well,
I downloaded this when we first started talking about it, but I had forgotten to look at it, and I just pulled it up here, and it's I'm gonna have to take advantage of this. He's even got some clips, so he must just be aggregating info and pushing it all to the app, right? He's
correct.
He's got the skill set to do that. Plus, it doesn't hurt that his brother races in the World Tour, one of the biggest teams in the world. So it's like, this is what you need.
Well, he had quite the launch because I'm sure he had quite the downloads. But it's nicely done, and it's a great. If you're watching the race live, there's actually even a spoiler button if you don't want to be spoiled and you want to click on turn on no spoilers, which is there's some nice features. They did a good job at launch, and it's I think it's a nice companion to when you're watching live.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna throw one more in here. If you guys remember that we were wondering where it might fit in, but we forgot to talk about it in racing. So we're going to drop it into the good idea files, and the good idea file, I guess the good idea is that people or entities can change. And I bring this up because the UCI, or the Tour Commissars, I guess it'd be the UCI, made a bad call by relegating Jasper Philipsen out of third place in the sprint stage 2 stages ago. And normally, I mean, we talked about Sagan getting DQ'd that year, which ended up being a bad call. They don't seem like they ever go back on these calls, and they relegated him. And I saw the interview with the Alpecin director and said they heard about the relegation. They actually went over to him, said, can we state our case? Can we look at video? And they looked at all the information, and apparently they actually had some video that had then surfaced by then that they didn't have when they originally made the call, and they explained all their points, and hey, it might look like this, but actually it was this person back here, and blah 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 blah. And the tour jury looked at it and said, you know what, you're right, we're changing our ruling, and they instated him back into third place. So I thought that was pretty miraculous. Like, hey, you got to make some tough calls in moments like that. But I also agree that with all the technology, I mean, dude, they have instant replay in, sports, tennis, whatever. I think that if the technology comes out and shows, so I say good on them for being big enough to get over it, which is so smart, because now it's not a big story. People might still be saying, that was a bad move, but no, it's the opposite. They reversed it. So that's dropped it into the good idea files for the UCI for being able to relook at their ruling and change it.
Brings up a great point, because if you think about when a coach challenges a call, maybe in an NFL game, right? It's such a controlled little ecosystem. The game is on a field. There's only 22 players out there total. They've got all these different camera angles, where a bike race is so dynamic, and there's so much going on, and you've got the race going on, you've got wind, you've got spectators, weather. I mean, so many things that happen, and so many different camera angles. So I'll have to go back and look at that and see if they have the different footage, because like the crash on that stage where Gaviria went down, when I first saw that footage, I thought that he had got his handlebars clipped by
it was Olaf Koy, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that was coming around him.
Yeah, it was Olaf Koy coming outside. I go, oh man, God, he went down hard for getting his handlebars clipped. It must have been, that as you're sprinting and it was just perfect. Well, it turns out he actually overlapped the wheel of the guy over on the other side, and that's why his front end went out. But initially, I didn't see that. Yeah, but you start looking at these different angles, and you have different perspectives. So I see how that can be, more challenging in cycling, but they want to get these results out. They want to do the podium like as quick as possible. Maybe we're going to have to start waiting a little bit on some of these. So that, right? If you're going to use this technology, then you got to use it to the full extent and not do it. So good on them.
Well, World Cup has VAR, the video review. It's been, controversial and successful in some ways in the World Cup. Major League Baseball has the challenge, the call right on the spot. It's very quick. You're in the stadium. You watch it all unfold. It's the first, whenever video replay or in the NFL or Major League Baseball, that's when my wife perks up and starts watching the screen. She's like, well, I got an opinion on that. And it really brings in the audience. And I think Major League Baseball is doing a great job with the challenge. Some catchers are better at predicting or making the right call to challenge a call than others. And that's a new skill that I'm sure the analytics are analyzing. And so, cycling can benefit from that. It just brings up a crazy thought. The concussions in that fall caught my mind. That crash was crazy. And I heard that in the World Cup soccer, everyone in the World Cup has a baseline study that's done.
Dude, motorsports, AMA, Supercross and motocross, they have to get a baseline at the beginning of the year. That's pretty common. The fact that they don't have that yet in cycling is, kind of amazed that they haven't implemented that one yet.
Yeah, we started with helmets, and I think we'll end with helmets today. That helmets are important, and baseline testing and taking care of these athletes is important. And if World Cup soccer is baseline testing their athletes, professional cycling should do the same. So
yeah, I agree. All right,
that wraps up episode 40 of season 2. Please subscribe, share, send us off to your friends. Send us your questions. Send us your photos. Thanks for joining us.
All right.